Welcome to CCV, the payment powerhouse. We believe that getting paid is more than just a transaction. It is a proof of personal success that reinforces businesses, families, and the communities they live in. That's why we make payment easy and accessible for all types of entrepreneurs, from the biggest international retailers to the smallest merchants in town. Together, we unlock the power of payment. And we know we're up to that task because we've been pioneers in payment for 65 years and counting. At CCV, we empower businesses through end-to-end seamless payment solutions every day. We are reliable, close to our customers and partners, and always ready to share our expertise and co-create new solutions together. From the start in 1958, our forward-looking entrepreneurial spirit has been one of our main strengths. And so is building strong relationships. That's how our founders, Cor and Bep van der Velde, and their team became the first to enable cashless payments in the Netherlands. But that was only the beginning of our success in the payment industry. Many smart new payment solutions followed since. And so did international expansion. We quickly grew from a small-sized family business to the future-proof international payment service provider we are now, employing over 1,000 people in 3 countries. We have the innovation and drive to power successful enterprises, and we have the experience and ease to empower ambitious entrepreneurs. We're the go-to payment partner for 150,000 businesses and entrepreneurs throughout Europe. With over 750,000 payment terminals and nearly 20,000 web shops operational, CCV is fully connected to your day-to-day challenges. Whether you're looking for mobile payment terminals, digital payment solutions, or solutions for EV charging, vending, parking, public transport, or anything in between, you know you can count on us. Empowering payment.
Hello everyone, welcome to this exclusive webinar, the CCV Day, Easy Cloud-Based Direct Payments in EV Charging with OCPI. Hi Peter, how are you?
Good afternoon or good morning, Javiera. Good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Javier Altamirano, the editor of Mobility Portal Europe, and he is Peter Ping, Commercial Product Manager at CCV. In this webinar, we will reveal the latest innovation and strategies in direct payment solutions for EV charging and much more. To start this webinar, Peter, I would like to ask you, could you briefly tell our audience about your company and what your role in CCV is?
Of course, yeah. So CCV is, as was shown in the introduction already, a company that's already 65 years, or more than 65 years in the market of payments. And we provide seamless payments for all kinds of industries. So today is about EV charging, but we're definitely also active in other industries such as parking, vending, retail, public transport. Wherever payments are required, that's where we're active in. Mostly Europe, I would say, with a few projects outside of Europe as well.
Okay.
I'm the product manager for those payment solutions, specifically for EV charging.
Mm-hmm.
Also product manager for the unattended terminals, which are then used in EV charging, but also in other verticals.
Okay. And Peter, can you explain to us why the solution you are about to present is so important for the EV charging market?
Well, it's definitely the timing now. There are a lot of government regulations coming up that require more options for payments in EV charging. And we're convinced that this solution is definitely a game changer there. It's also an easier integration, but I will explain all the details. I will not explain everything yet, but I will explain all the details in the webinar.
Okay, so now we will move on the presentation of the product and the solution that CCV offers. Peter will give a presentation for this. Would you like to share the presentation? Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. So today is about a new type of integration that we want to present. We call it Cloud Connect for EV charging. But I also want to give an introduction a bit, very short, about EV charging payments in general and who are the stakeholders. And then continuing on that, what is the benefit now of this new type of integration for all those stakeholders? First of all, what you need to do direct payments in EV charging or anywhere else, of course, is a payment terminal. Very simple. It's a device that is an interaction device between the driver and the bank, let's say, behind the processing and acquiring services. Once you have a payment terminal, as I already mentioned, processing and acquiring services, every payment needs to be translated into the right format so that the acquirer can accept that transaction. Unfortunately, there is no standard there. So there are quite a lot of transactions that need to be translated. This is also a service that CCV provides. And we support a number of payment schemes or payment methods in that processing. As you can see here on the screen, we support Girocard, very common or very important in Germany, MasterCard, Visa, and also Google and Apple Pay. So it's important that we provide as many methods that people can pay, of course, whatever they have in their wallet. Next to processing, you also need a partnership with an acquirer. And for EV charging, we have partnerships with multiple acquirers such as Elevon, PayOne, Nexi, CPay, and ING. And this allows us to process and handle end-to-end transactions all over Europe, so in all European countries, and recently with Elevon also in the UK, in the United Kingdom. Then the important question to ask, why direct payments? Because, well, in EV charging, everybody started using mobile apps, charge passes, and it's very popular today still. Why would you then switch to direct payments? Well, we see a different trend coming up in the market, new needs from different types of drivers as well. So it's important that users get a choice. First of all, people need to have a choice between charge pass, mobile apps, and credit or debit cards. So that if they don't want to register for an online account, for example, they don't want to install an app on their phone, or maybe they didn't bring their phone, that they can still pay with their usual credit or debit card. It's also a bit about simplicity and expectation from this new type of drivers, but also from the more mature ones, I would say. People expect that in today's world, you can pay for an EV charging session just like you would pay at a grocery store for a bread or anything else at a shop. So with your credit or debit card. Then there's also the aspect of security. If you want to get a charge pass, you need to register online for an account, and then you need to link your bank details to that account. If there is one, you can download a mobile app to then register or make a reservation at the charge station and pay with that. And that's all okay if you're just driving from A to B around your home, not too far. But if you're like me and you travel and you charge in different countries, you end up with a lot of, well, at least several online accounts where you have to register your bank details. And you need to keep track of them, of course. After a few years of driving with an electric vehicle, you end up with quite a few accounts and mobile apps on your phone, and you have to keep track of that. And important also is that you rely on the security of that hosting environment. You rely on them that your bank details are in a secure environment. So there is also a security concern there. And then last but not least, of course, we see that there's a lot of demand in the industry from governments, but also in tenders, that you need to comply with a certain list of payment methods for EV charging. For example, a good example is the AFIR regulation, which came into effect in about 2 months ago in April, where it's mandatory that every charge station above 50 kilowatts needs to have a direct payment device. In November later this year, a similar regulation will go into effect in the United Kingdom as well. So this is also pushing the market to direct payments, or at least to provide the choice of direct payments. So then how exactly do you do this? How do you integrate direct payments into your EV charging solution? So first of all, let's look at the involved stakeholders in an EV charging environment. There's on the left side, you have the CPM, the charge point manufacturer. They build the charge point, and then they sell those to the CPO, to the charge point operator. The operator will then install those charge stations at the merchant's location on the right side and manage and service those chargers for the merchant. If there's anything wrong with them, they will handle that. And then the merchant gets the money from the driver using those processing and acquiring services that I mentioned earlier in the presentation, just to make sure that they get paid for the energy that was provided to the end user. You can then integrate with a number of these stakeholders. In most cases, our integration is done with the CPM, with the charge point manufacturer, using a local integration, as we call it. The charge point controller sends the right commands to the terminal to, for example, do a pre-authorization or a reservation of money. Then you do the charge session, and once the charge session is completed, you finish the transaction with the amount that was actually used, and that money then goes to the merchant. This integration has a number of advantages because the charge controller is completely in charge, I would say, of what happens on the terminal. So for the CPM, it's a nice way to integrate and align the payment 100% with, for example, what happens on the large charge screen, mostly in DC charging. Or you can present a list of chargers on the screen that the user can select from if you want to install this in a parking lot, in a kiosk environment, so that they can pay from one terminal on for multiple chargers in the environment. A second way of integrating is using an app, an operator app. And for that, you use our Android-based terminals. The operator can develop an app which runs on that terminal. And then you basically have full freedom of what you show on that screen. That app is connected to a backend, which loads all the necessary information, such as chargers or tariff information, discount information for local shops. You can really customize it all you like. You can put the branding of the operator or the shop inside the app. So that gives a lot more flexibility, of course. And then the Android app is the one that's in control of what happens for the payment. So as soon as a payment is required, the Android app will tell the terminal, please do a reservation of money or handle this transaction, finish this transaction. Now, there are a number of disadvantages in those integrations. If you look at the local integration, so where the charge controller communicates with the terminal, we provide a protocol for that so that they can send the right commands to the terminal. However, that does take a learning curve. It needs to be implemented and you need to send the right commands, so there is some studying to do. And depending on the complexity of the integration, what type of information you want to show on the screen, it can take days, weeks, sometimes even months, depending on the complexity, but also on the experience of the software engineers. And that's often a struggle point for charge point manufacturers. They don't really want to deal with this. They want to build charge points and sell them as fast as possible. So that whole learning curve is quite often a struggle. If you look at the Android app or the operator app integration, one slide ahead. Another disadvantage for the local integration is that brand manufacturers or charge point manufacturers tend to do the same thing over and over again. For the end user, it's the same experience. You can do a payment on the payment terminal, but the interaction is exactly the same. However, every brand, every charge point manufacturer has to integrate with this terminal. And in most cases, they're doing the same thing over and over again. So that's also a disadvantage of local integration, of course. Then if we look at the app integration, so with an Android app running on the payment terminal, the biggest disadvantage here is that you need a software developer who can design Android apps. And some of you might be in the business there and know that it's not easy to find those people all the time. Also, if you have such a person in your company, you need to keep them busy. You need to keep them occupied with building apps because there's quite some evolution in that business. So you need to keep them busy building apps. And also that's not really the focus of these companies usually. So quite a few disadvantages in all these type of integrations, and that's why we gathered all of this. We talked to our customers, started collecting ideas, and that's when we started building a new integration method called Cloud Connect for EV charging. Now, the basis of this integration is, as the word says, it's cloud-based, of course. We do one simple integration, in this case, with the charge point management system, which is then used by one or more CPOs to manage those charge points. And the big benefit is, of course, you have one single integration, but immediately you reach a number of CPOs who then also manage a number of charge point brands. So one single integration gives you a much wider integration or acceptance in the market. Then we had to look at, how do we communicate with this charge point management system? And we looked at how in EV charging, these different stakeholders communicate with each other. For example, if you look at an e-mobility service provider, or MSP, they use or mostly use the OCPI protocol. And that's also why we selected OCPI as the foundation for this integration. When we started studying the protocol, we saw that, OCPI, perfect for EV charging. It was developed and designed by EV charging industry partners, but it doesn't do direct payments. So we started designing our own module on top of that, specifically for the direct payments part, for handling the terminal, let's say. But then as we started doing that, at the right time, the EV Roaming Foundation actually released their own module specifically for direct payments. So I would say a big thanks to the EV Roaming Foundation for being there just at the right time for us. So we switched to that solution, let's say. The direct payments module is an OCPI integration on top of the already known OCPI protocol. So the big benefit here is that by using the OCPI protocol, there is not really a learning curve anymore. We're using a standard which is already known in the market. Charge point management systems providers, they already know this protocol very well. In most cases, they have already integrated it. So that learning curve disadvantage that I mentioned earlier, that's already gone. Then if we looked at how can we simplify this for the charge point manufacturers, well, we do the integration with the charge point management system. So they don't really have to communicate with the terminal anymore. All they need to do is install the terminal physically in the charge station, or maybe in a kiosk. It doesn't have to be in the charge station. Make sure that it has power, make sure that it has internet, and sell the whole charge station with the payment terminal to the CPO. So that's really a reduction of the go-to-market for the charge station. And there is no learning curve. You don't need to learn a specific protocol to talk to the terminal there. So charge point manufacturers can really focus on what's most important for them. Then, of course, there's the terminal compatibility. In the previous slides, I mentioned that you have to do an integration for this terminal, and then you have to do it for another terminal. And there is, of course, there are things that you can reuse. But quite often what we see is that an integration for this terminal is done in 2023, and then the next terminal is added in 2024, maybe 1 year later. And then the people who integrate those terminals, they have to restudy the protocol again, look at the previous integration, maybe make some adaptations. And this is also not necessary here anymore. So we take care of the compatibility with all these terminals. So that means with Cloud Connect, our entire terminal portfolio is automatically supported. You only have to do one integration with the CPMS, and then you can provide payments on an IM15, an IM30, or any future terminal that we will launch in our portfolio. Then what stays the same, of course, as I mentioned before, you need a processing and acquiring contract to handle the payouts, to make sure that the money goes from the driver to the merchant. That stays the same. There needs to be an agreement between the merchant and CCV or one of our partners to make sure that these transactions result in a payout to the merchant, that the merchant gets their money. That's the same, and that happens or that is activated during the terminal installation. The last step in the Cloud Connect for EV charging solution is then that the CPO needs to link the terminal to the charge station. And also here, we use the benefit of the OCPI protocol. That is why the direct payments module is there. It's up to the CPO to log in on the CPMS, on the charge point management system, and tell us this terminal is now attached to this charge station. Or it could also be attached to multiple charge stations. So in a kiosk environment where you want to pay on one terminal for multiple charge stations, you just link it to multiple EVSEs, it's called in OCPI, or charge stations. And then on the background, we make sure that that terminal has a list of attached charge stations, so you can pay for them. So if we summarize this a bit, first of all, we provide specifications of the terminals to the CPM so that they know the dimensions of the terminals, that they know the whole electrical data sheet, that they know how to certify the whole charge station with that terminal integrated. They build in the terminal in the charge station, and they sell the charge stations to the CPO. The CPO then installs them at the merchant location. And then the whole integration is done using that OCPI protocol with the CPMS system, with the charge point management system. Important to note, I already mentioned it a few times, but it is important, especially for AC charging. With all our integrations and also with this new Cloud Connect for EV charging integration, we support a one-on-one installation, so where every charge station has its own terminal. But we also support a kiosk, as we call it, a kiosk environment, where one terminal can provide payments for all the charge stations in the neighborhood. Just like we're used with parking and gas stations. So very, very similar experience as there. Because this is also a bit what customers are expecting. So if we look at the benefits for the charge point manufacturer, I already said it, a very simple installation. You mount a terminal, you provide power and internet, and you sell it. That means a much faster go-to-market than with previous integrations. And it also reduces your development and as such also your charge point cost. Benefits for the CPMS providers. It's fast. There is no real learning curve because OCPI is something they already know. One integration immediately reaches all the CPOs that use the CPMS. So it's a wider acceptance. So for all these operators and also immediately on all the payment terminals in our portfolio. Looking at the operators, you increase acceptance for the merchants because they provide a service to the merchant. And they make sure that people who arrive at the merchant shop can pay with either a charge pass, a mobile app, or a credit card. So no struggles needed to install an app last minute. If you want to pay with a credit card instead of your app, you have that choice. And of course, we can't forget the end users. They have the choice of payment. They don't have to worry about multiple online accounts if they arrive at a location where their charge pass is not accepted or the mobile app is not accepted, they can still use their credit or debit card as a backup solution, or some people might prefer it as their first solution. That also increases security, of course. You don't have to register for 10 online accounts, and maybe after 5 or 10 years, you don't remember where you put all your bank details. And also important to note is that the entire user flow for charging can be done from the terminal itself. So on every terminal in our portfolio, we provide the user interface to start charging, select a charger in a kiosk environment, select a connector. We can show the tariff to the user because that's also one of the requirements of the AFI regulation. You have to be transparent about pricing. And also from the terminal screen, we provide a receipt of the transaction so that they have proof of what exactly they did, they paid, what amount of energy they received from the charge station. So summarized, Cloud Connect for EV charging, I would say a much simpler integration, no learning curves, which ends up in a faster go-to-market for all the stakeholders involved. You get a wider acceptance for your charge network, and also it's future-proof and compliant. It's a platform that we want to use to build additional payment services on top of that. I would say if you want to know more details, we have a website which you can scan here with all our integration services, including the Cloud Connect for EV charging. We have a white paper specifically for Cloud Connect as well. Feel free to reach out to our salespeople using the phone and the email address shown on the screen, and we will gladly help with a good solution for your integration. And with that, I will conclude this presentation.
Okay, Peter, great presentation. I would like to ask you, EV drivers have been using mobile apps and charge passes for years now. Do you believe that direct payments will replace these payment types for EV charging?
No. Charge passes and then these online accounts and mobile apps, they definitely have an advantage that credit cards today cannot provide. That is definitely there, and I believe they will stay there. Some users will really keep using the charge pass and the mobile app as their first preference for EV charging. But direct payments are there to give a choice in a scenario where you don't want that mobile app installed on your phone, or you don't want to register online accounts. You just want the simplicity of paying with a credit card or a debit card. That's why direct payments are there. Although I do see that if you look at polls in the industry on social media on how people would actually prefer to pay for EV charging, you do see a big trend going to direct payments. People just want to simply pay with a credit and debit card. And I think that has a lot to do with the new type of drivers that we're seeing. In the beginning of electric vehicles, these were mostly enthusiasts. People were quite often excited and wanted to try out these things. Now it's more like the general user who want simplicity, and they don't want that extra hassle of online accounts and charge passes. So I definitely believe that they will stay there, but you do see a big trend going to direct payments.
Okay, and when will your Cloud Connect solution be available for partners to use?
It's currently still in I would say, the final development stages. We are planning some pilots in the summer months, so July and August. And then hopefully September for, I would say, a wider audience. Yeah, I would like to hope everywhere, of course, but we'll see.
Peter, anything else you would like to add, to say?
I think I already mentioned quite a lot in the presentation. I would say reach out to us and tell us your requirements. I'm not saying that Cloud Connect is the best solution for everybody. It's a good solution which takes away a lot of disadvantages from other types of integrations. But in some cases, it could be that a local integration is still the best choice for one of our partners. So feel free to reach out to me or to my sales colleagues, and we will make sure we find the best solution for that.
And where can they get in touch with you and CCV?
Of course, through our website. We have contact information on our website for the entire sales team. On the QR code that I showed earlier, all our information is listed there. So you can reach out to us like that. Or feel free to post a message on LinkedIn. I would say I'm quite responsive there as well.
Okay, thank you very much for this webinar. It has been very interesting.
Thank you.
See you in the next webinar.
Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Welcome to CCV, the payment powerhouse. We believe that getting paid is more than just a transaction. It is a proof of personal success that reinforces businesses, families, and the communities they live in. That's why we make payment easy and accessible for all types of entrepreneurs, from the biggest international retailers to the smallest merchants in town. Together, we unlock the power of payment. And we know we're up to that task because we've been pioneers in payment for 65 years and counting. At CCV, we empower businesses through end-to-end seamless payment solutions every day. We are reliable, close to our customers and partners, and always ready to share our expertise and co-create new solutions together. From the start in 1958, our forward-looking entrepreneurial spirit has been one of our main strengths. And so is building strong relationships. That's how our founders, Cor and Bep van der Velde, and their team became the first to enable cashless payments in the Netherlands. But that was only the beginning of our success in the payment industry. Many smart new payment solutions followed since. And so did international expansion. We quickly grew from a small-sized family business to the future-proof international payment service provider we are now, employing over 1,000 people in 3 countries. We have the innovation and drive to power successful enterprises, and we have the experience and ease to empower ambitious entrepreneurs. We're the go-to payment partner for 150,000 businesses and entrepreneurs throughout Europe. With over 750,000 payment terminals and nearly 20,000 web shops operational, CCV is fully connected to your day-to-day challenges. Whether you're looking for mobile payment terminals, digital payment solutions, or solutions for EV charging, vending, parking, public transport, or anything in between, you know you can count on us. Empowering payment.